Welcome to this exercise on the topic of time to consumer and the calculation of amortization periods. Here we have two versions of a product which we observe. The first version generates revenues of 2 million and has variable costs which are made of 35% of the revenues. The development is considered to take 400 man-months at a cost of 8,000 per man-month, and the market cycle of this version of the product is forecasted to last for 12 years. For the second version, follow-up product has a developing time of only 40% of the original product, but costs per month have increased due to inflation by 15%. So we have to adjust here the developing period to only 40%, so we can multiply this value with 0.4, but the costs have increased, so we have to multiply this cost factor by 1.15, which is an increase of 15%. Additionally, we have the information that the market cycle is now estimated to last only 8 years for this follow-up product, and revenues are assumed to be 15% higher. And well, that's about the information we have. Our task then is to determine the payoff periods for both of the products, the original and the follow-up product. For this, I first copied the information on version 1 and then put this into a table. So we can start with revenues. Revenues occur once per year, so per annum we have 2 million in costs. And if I calculate 35% thereof, I get the respective variable costs listed below here. Based on using revenues and variable cost, I can calculate the contribution margin, which is just revenues minus variable costs. Those are per annum values, so if I want to have the total values, I simply multiply this with the 12 years of the estimated forecasted market cycle. Then here I have the overall values for the full period. Well, so much for this. Then I need to consider the fixed costs. Fixed costs are the costs of development in this regard. So they result from the man-month and the costs per month. So here I'm multiplying 400 and 8,000, giving me 3.2 million fixed costs for this. This, however, are fixed costs which occur only once. That's why I'm noting them on the right side for the whole project. However, I want to have a calculation also on a per annum basis, so I have to divide those by 12 to get a value per year. Having this one here per year and here, I can subtract the fixed costs from the contribution margin, giving me an estimate on my profits per year in total. And well, and then I can also say, since I do not have any additional informations, I can assume that the cash flow each year equals the contribution margin. Well, with this information, I have enough to actually talk about the payoff periods, because in this regard, I can just take the fixed costs, the development costs, and what I'm basically asking is, when did I make enough money to pay off this theoretical debt position? And for this, I'm simply dividing the fixed costs by the respective cash flow, which here incidentally is the same as the contribution margin. So if I do this, I have noted down here my overall payoff periods, which I can see is roughly 2.5 years. And then that's the basically break-even point when I start making profits. Well, that was the first version of the product. Now we have to consider the second version. For the second version, we have these informations given. And again, just for comparison's sakes, I have the old version, original product here. I can put them into a similar table. So first I have to adjust the first sentence development costs So I have to multiply this fixed costs we had with 0.4 and then with 1.15. If I do this, I will get a new development cost position of 1.472 million. Divided by 8, I get this value per annum. So this is the adjustment of the fixed costs, of the development costs. Well, I divide by 8 because now I have a market cycle of only 8 years. So everything here is with a factor of 8. Follow-up products revenues are assumed to be 15% higher. So I can take the original revenues of 2 million, multiply them with 1.15, giving me the new ones here per year, times 8 for the whole period. Well, again, since I didn't have any additional information, I can assume that the variable cost margin is the same. So again, I take 35% of the revenues, giving me the variable costs. With revenues and variable costs, I can calculate the contribution margins. And well, with contribution margins and the fixed costs, the development costs, I can calculate profits. Again, since I do not have any additional information, contribution margin and cash flows coincide. So to talk about the payoff period or the amortization time, I again divide fixed costs by cash flows, giving me here a payoff period of slightly below 1 year. And then I see that the follow-up product pays off much earlier than the original product because the development costs for the original one were much higher than with the follow-up product. Well, that's about it on this exercise. Hope you enjoyed it. I say goodbye and see you next time.